In a city where change is the only constant, it's not an option to stand still.
We do. CNA, Hong Kong.
As I live my life, I am increasingly surprised by my strength, my determination, by the power of my beliefs. I find reward in the honesty of my endeavors, proud of what I have achieved, and convinced there is much more I can do.
This is Singapore Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jill Neubronner. Here are tonight's top stories. Another HDB block undergoes mass swab tests, this time in Pasir Ris, as Singapore logs 22 new local coronavirus cases today. Financial support for food delivery riders if they catch COVID-19. And recommendations towards a white paper on women's issues, with Singapore marking 60 years since the Women's Charter tomorrow. Mass swab tests are being carried out at another HDB block in Singapore after earlier COVID-19 cases were found there. It is the second such operation after an earlier one at a block in Hougang. Experts are not ruling out that the older building designs could play a part in spreading the virus. But Health Minister Ong Ye Kung assures that swab tests are only a precaution. Well, that said, all residents at Block 559 Pasir Ris will be tested after 4 COVID-19 cases were found to be living there. One of them is the first case identified in the Changi Airport cluster. Tan Se-hui reports.
32-year-old Jin Zhe is a resident of the affected block. He was out grocery shopping at around 8 in the evening on Saturday and came home to this, a letter informing him that he's required to undergo a mandatory swab test at a nearby swabbing centre. He had also received a text.
Kind of worried actually, but there's no mention about who are the infected ones in our block, so we are just trying to take precautionary measures.
The 4 COVID-19 cases had been reported earlier. One of them is an 88-year-old man who is a cleaner at Changi Airport Terminal 3. The other 3 are from another household. The Health Ministry says it's adopting the same cautious approach as Block 506 in Hougang by conducting the PCR test. Those who had visited the Pasir Ris block between May 2nd and 18 are also advised to take the swab test. The MP for the area says it's for their assurance and peace of mind.
I explained to the residents that they are not on quarantine or on stay-home notice. It is also prudence for them to try and exercise some restraint, to try and stay home as much as possible, to work from home. And of course, if they have to go out for essential errands, they will have to continue to get their food and do the important things they have to do.
I'm heading inside the swabbing centre as I have an appointment after visiting White Sands Mall about 2 weeks ago. So let's have a look at operations inside. 5 different groups of people, from airline crew to those from the construction and marine sector, were also waiting to be tested, but they were clearly segregated.
For Block 519, it's much more special, so I just came in immediately. There wasn't any queue, so I just come in. It's quite a smooth process, so it's done within 5 minutes, even I have no appointment or anything.
More than half of the 240 residents have been tested. They're told results will be out within the next 24 to 48 hours. The rest will have to get tested by Monday. Well, mass swab tests at a housing block in Hougang has picked up another COVID-19 case. The tests were conducted after 9 other cases were earlier found to have lived there. Some of these are linked to the cluster at Changi Airport. The Health Ministry says cases in Block 506 are from 4 households living in the same stack. Most were quarantined earlier and are unlikely to have been moving around while infectious. Airborne transmission is ruled out for now, and investigations are still ongoing. The block has also been disinfected, especially frequently touched areas such as lifts, handrails and letterboxes.
This comes after 400 residents and visitors were offered swabs over the past 2 days as a precaution. 126 others are waiting for their results, which the area's MP, Gerald Giam, says should be out in a day or two. He adds that common areas were cleaned again last evening after the swab operation was completed. This includes misting and wiping corridors and lifts. Affected deliveries for essential items like cooking gas cylinders should resume soon. He also urged residents to stay home to stop the spread. So while investigations continue at the 2 HDB blocks, an expert says it's most likely that COVID-19 had spread through interactions between residents. In the case of the Hougang block, its layout could have contributed to virus spread within the same stack.
Many of the blocks built in the 1980s, they had a common stairwell which linked the flats of the same stack, so that you didn't interact too much with neighbors on the same floor, but paradoxically, you ended up interacting more with neighbors above you and below you. The most likely mode of transmission is that somebody from each of the 4 households met each other in the stairwell and they somehow came in close contact.
But Professor Tambaya doesn't rule out the possibility of transmission via the sewage or the rubbish chute, like in the 2003 SARS outbreak in a Hong Kong housing estate. While unlikely here, he advises residents to stay on the safe side until the linkages are uncovered.
If there was somebody who had a very high concentration of virus in the sewage and the sewage system was malfunctioning, so that when you flush your toilet, then you aerosolize the contaminated sewage. The other possibility is a rubbish chute. And in the HDB flats built in the 1980s, the rubbish chutes were inside the flat. I know many of you, when you open the rubbish chute, I've seen that. Sometimes you feel a whiff of air. So, but that is very unlikely until we are sure that it's not the mode of transmission. It may be prudent to cover the toilet when they flush and to also consider wearing masks when they throw something down the rubbish chute, if the rubbish chute is inside the flat.
Well, Health Minister Ong Ye Kung says the public should feel safer with such testing operations, including those at public housing blocks. He adds testing is effective in preventing a further spread and more will be done in the future. Meanwhile, he says the number of cases has stayed mostly the same since the 16th of May, based on a 3-day moving average. He adds that vaccines are effective at reducing the spread. So far, 78 cases are vaccinated compared to 300 who aren't. Some 250 tenants at Westgate Shopping Mall will receive rental rebates. Mall manager Capital Land says tenants will also receive support to push their sales online. Westgate and its neighbour Gem were ordered to close for 2 weeks starting today to break any potential chain of COVID-19 transmission. 10 recent cases were linked to the malls. Capital Land says additional cleaning and disinfection will be carried out while Westgate is shut. Attention will be given to frequently touched areas like lifts and handrails. Office tenants can still access Westgate Tower through the basement car park and level 1. Lend-Lease, which operates Gem, tells CNA that all common areas will undergo additional deep cleaning, while tenants will disinfect their own premises. Its statement made no mention if tenants will get rental rebates. Meanwhile, swab tests for staff and tenants of the 2 malls are being carried out. Free COVID-19 testing is also being offered to anyone who visited the 2 malls between the 10th and 14th of May. Singapore has reported 22 new locally transmitted COVID-19 cases. 21 are in the community and 1 in a dormitory. It's the first case detected in a dorm in over 3 weeks. 19 are linked to the previous cases, among which 12 have already been quarantined. 3 are currently unlinked. In all, there are 25 new cases. There are 3 imported ones. They had been placed on stay-home notice upon arrival. 2 are returning Singaporeans or permanent residents. Food delivery riders who get infected may soon get support if their livelihoods are affected. The Labour movement says details will be out later. It is also working on other ways to help riders struggling financially, even with